Hello, everyone. Hello, Amrita.
Hi, Shyama. We're back.
We're back after.
Anyways, we are back.
We're back. We're back again. How are you?
All good. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Cool. I just want to say a really big thank you to everyone who listened to our first season before we get into anything else.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. We've had some great feedback.
Yeah.
And so now, obviously, the second season is going to be slightly different, as we know.
Absolutely.
And
we've got something quite exciting happening
today. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
So we have a guest.
Yay! Woohoo! And I'm really happy to introduce, and you will know him, hopefully, from the BBC Asia Network. He's been in the media for over 10 years, so you will have seen him around. I hope you will have. And if you haven't, you should get to know him, definitely. It's Haroon Rashid.
Hello!
Hi, Haroon!
Hello, how are you both?
Good, how are you?
I am very excited to be here because I love everything you're doing with this podcast, and also because I've known you both for years. So I feel like we're going to forget that there's microphones here. We're going to forget that there's a camera. Like, this is
so
we
true.
might say something that's going to get us into a lot of trouble, but it's okay because I'm with friends.
Absolutely. And I think that was why when me and Shyama were kind of thinking how we kind of introduce guests to season 2, you were kind of the name. It was literally on top of our list, I'd say.
Like, let's get him on.
Yeah.
But that's flattering to know. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm really happy to know that. Thank you.
But I think it's also because we've known you for years, and we've actually witnessed your development. So it's been great, and we're very proud of you. By
also, the three of us have seen each other in very stressful circumstances, happy moments, celebratory moments where we want to literally not talk to anybody in the world. And we've seen it all. And so I think there's very little that's filtered between the three of us.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I do remember phone calls of you being abroad. I mean, like, Amrita.
Yes. Phone calls even in this country late at night where I'm like, Amrita, I don't know what to do. This is a disaster. Where do I go? What do I do?
Oh, no.
So true. So you can probably get a gist of the friendship that the three of us have.
Yes, absolutely.
Haroon, we are so excited to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for your support for the first season.
My pleasure.
So realistically, I've known you for that long that I've known the kind of transition you've had in the media. But I've also known the personal transition you've had in terms of your fitness, in terms of the way you look out for yourself, look after yourself. And I think it's going to be one of these conversations where we hear from a male perspective how you did that. Because I feel like we really hear from a lot of females about this.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think women definitely have it harder. Like, let's just say that on the offset. Like, women definitely have it harder in life in all aspects. I think quite often the male experience of balancing life is overlooked, sometimes rightly so, because women have it harder. But that's not to say that men don't have their own journey and experiences of trying to find the balance. And I think for me, finding the balance in all aspects of my life is an ever evolving process. Like, I don't think anybody who claims to say they have the perfect balance of work, home life, relationships, health, whatever it might be, they're lying. It's a facade.
Yeah.
It's so true.
It is true.
I do feel like this is the same for women because I do feel like we hardly ever, I don't think any woman, obviously I don't have kids, but even women who have kids and are married, Shyama, have it right all the time.
No.
We just don't, right?
Yeah.
But it's also, I think, and I think this goes for both men and women, it's this idea of having it all, doing it all, having it all, but that can mean different things to a lot of people. And I think it's that whole thing of, especially with the world of social media and everything happening so fast, we want everything now without realizing that, oh, hold on, as we age, as we grow older, as we learn new things, our priorities will change.
And we want it all, and rarely do we actually ever enjoy what we're doing at that time. Like,
so true.
Absolutely.
So true. I feel like during the COVID pandemic, especially from a personal perspective, I've really tried to be present in the moment rather than thinking of, oh, what's happening tomorrow? What's happening next week? I'm going on holiday next month.
Yeah.
Like, do you get what I mean? We're always going towards something
Yeah.
rather than living and cherishing what we are living at that moment.
I think COVID and the pandemic and the lockdowns, like first lockdown was a crazy like reset for everyone.
Yeah.
Like a mental reset, a physical reset, like being confined to your home for most people. Obviously, there were frontline workers and people who were still kind of, well, helping us. But the point is, I think for a lot of us who were confined to our homes, it was the first time that any of us had really sat down and thought, like, what am I doing? Like, what
Yeah.
is happening in my life? What have I been chasing for however long? And in a split second, I'm being held back from all of that to, well, obviously because of the pandemic, but what's it worth? Because
Yeah.
it's not really worth anything, right?
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. I do feel like we were kind of just thrust in a way out of the rat race.
Do you know what it was? We were like forced.
Yeah.
We were actually forced to just stop.
Yeah.
And you know, it is that thing that some people hated it. It just didn't work for some people, but others like reveled. They just loved it so much. It was something that they didn't know they needed, and it kind of just forced us to be like, okay, no, like, hold on, what is happening?
Yeah.
You know, you can work around certain things.
Have you ever thought if the pandemic didn't happen? And the pandemic is like, it's such a disastrous thing,
Yeah,
right? Like it
yeah.
took lives, it's ruined people. It's
Absolutely.
ruined people. But do you ever wonder if the pandemic hadn't happened, where you would be now?
So it's really funny you say that, because I think of this all the time, because for me, the pandemic, those months that we were in lockdown, I was working from home for 15 months straight, and I absolutely hated it.
Oh, did you?
I hated it because I had no interaction, because at that time in my team, it's almost like, obviously no one was ready for something like that, but I think in my team, no one was also ready to have that many people working from home at once, and also to make sure that, yes, they're working from home, but you can still have interaction with them, even if it's virtual, even if it's on the phone. There was no thought in that sense. So I think it made it more difficult for me, but also because I had a parent who was shielding, so which meant I was a little bit more protective of my parents and of my situation, that I was making sure I wasn't putting them at risk. Like, I had to think about my own actions as well, if you see what I mean. But I think looking back, I was gonna say, looking back, I do feel like those 2 years were a big waste, because I feel like socially I did absolutely nothing. I didn't catch up with my friends. Some of my friends' life situation changed. Just did not, you know, like you just couldn't reach out in the right way because you were dealing with your own thing.
But it's also the fact that, okay, there is that, but we were under so much stress as well. So it was that thing of, okay, yeah, as much as you want to reach out to friends and stuff like that, you've also got to make time for yourself and figure out what's happening at home. How is that happening? Like, you know, it's having the having the brain capacity to think about doing those things, as well as concentrating on what you've got going on in your own life, in your own presence. And I think this is exactly like where you're coming from, in terms of trying to have that capacity of trying to have your hand in everything.
Yeah, I mean, like, so I've been working since I was in the media industry since I was 17. Like, you,
Wow.
like, Amrita, you've known me since I was a teenager.
Oh my God.
Like, quite literally.
I mean, I feel old.
Don't at all. But I feel like as soon as I entered the media industry and was enamored by this world of it's a world of possibility, right? Because it is what you make of it, and
absolutely.
it's a never ending. The goal keeps moving. Like, the goal keeps moving. Oh, I want to achieve this. Oh, I want to achieve this. Oh, wouldn't it be great if I because I started as a like you, as a reviewer, and then I became a freelancer. I did an internship, then became a freelancer, then I became an assistant producer, then I was working on the breakfast show, then I was an entertainment reporter, then I became a senior journalist, now I'm a presenter. That's kind of the career graph. But for me, and in the middle I was an editor of a news team as well. So in all of that, I was always chasing the next opportunity. So throughout all of the last decade, my only goal was my career progression. And the pandemic was the very first time in my life that I had to think about taking on other responsibility. It started with responsibility, right? Because in the same way that you're saying that you had a parent who was shielding, I was living with two grandparents, and it was just me and my grandparents, and they obviously they were shielding, And so I was responsible for everything. And that one outing a week to go to the supermarket was like the biggest responsibility of making sure I didn't bring anything back into the house, and coming in and literally changing my clothes straight away and showering straight away and wiping the bags out, and this new sense of responsibility in just that first couple of weeks of the pandemic made me realize, there is more that I need to focus on in my life than just my career, because that's there and it's fine.
So can I ask you something before you continue? Did you feel any pressure at that point that you have to then start now balancing different things?
I don't think I realised it so instantly.
Okay.
So,
Right,
because
okay.
I was working in my 20s with blinkers on, and I couldn't see anything else around me.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, like, when in your 20s, when you were chasing this sort of like career,
Yeah.
did it ever occur to you that, hold on, if I've got my career, when can I make time for like other things in
Shall I
life?
tell you something? People who used to focus on other things, I used to think they were stupid.
Really?
Yeah, like for example, like a lot of my cousins got married 5-6 years ago, and they're all around the similar age to me, maybe like 2-3 year age difference.
Yeah.
And I used to think like they've got married, and like that's their focus now. Like how they're gonna do other stuff, like how they're gonna focus on their career, and like how like they've had kids now. Like what's that gonna mean? Like they're not gonna be able to. I don't know, go to a work meeting or whatever. Like they're not gonna have the flexibility. They're tied down by this decision that they've made, this other aspect of their life that they've decided to focus on, and that's gonna take away from what they could be giving to career. I don't even think career. I just mean personal ambition. Like for me, career was personal ambition. Yeah. And so I never thought about it before. Sorry, what was your question? Did I ever think about it?
No, you've answered it.
Yeah.
You've answered it. Yeah.
Did I ever think about it before? No, I didn't ever think about it before.
Yeah.
But so it's really weird you say that, because obviously I've had a full-time job outside of the media, and the media thing was my side hustle, right?
Yeah.
Same as Shyama.
Same.
But so I feel like you have a different perspective altogether, but also the chasing that you were doing, did you feel like it was because of the industry as well? The way the industry operates?
Yeah, I mean, I think unless you, I mean, I don't want to sound like, we work in such hard jobs. I absolutely love my job. I love the industry that I work in. I feel like I'm so privileged, and I am constantly grateful for being in the opportunity to be in the position that I am. I've worked damn hard to be in that position, but the industry is ruthless. So if you don't take that opportunity, somebody else is going to get that opportunity.
Exactly.
The industry,
it's true.
The industry is unforgiving. So you're only as good as your reputation, and your reputation is built from the work that you've done. So yes, there was very little opportunity for me to take my eyes off the prize, and that is why I had to have that focus. But also, I guess at that time I didn't know what benefit those other aspects of life would bring me.
Okay.
So
that's
like,
interesting.
For example, when I talk about like my cousins having got married, or like my friends getting married and things like that, or like being in stable relationships, I neglected that part of my life completely for the majority of my 20s, because I did not have time for it, or I would say I did not have time for it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's true. Like, I don't know if it's true that I didn't have time for it. I think the bigger truth is that I didn't make time for it.
Yeah, so this was what I was going to ask next.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that, not even just the dating or the relationships, or just even just having a work-life balance, you have to make time for it. You have to prioritize. Like, for example, I feel like, I think post-pandemic more, I notice when my mental health is a little bit down or something like that. Yes, everyone has off days, right? We all have them.
Yeah.
There's no escaping an off day. You might have had, I don't know, you might be tired. Anything could feed into that off day. But when you're having an off day, it's an off day. It's not like, do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not always something that continues day to day. But I've noticed in myself, sometimes when I'm busy at work, I'm not able to put myself first in inverted commas. I really feel it now. And probably pre-pandemic, I didn't notice it so much because I was so in the rat race of going into work every day, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And now we're not there. Do you get what I mean?
The thing is, I say this all the time. Like, I can't believe, like, when I go into work, I go in like 1 week in, 1 week out, and I go Monday to Friday. I am shattered. I'm so tired. And literally, I have this conversation all the time to think, we used to go to work Monday to Friday, also have time to socialise after
Yeah.
work,
Oh
and
my
then
God, the
socialise
idea
during
of
the
that just-
socialise
Or
during
even
the
do a
weekend.
media event after work.
Do a media
Oh
event
my
after, and
God.
especially like a media event would be that stressful situation where
Yeah.
we're like, and you know what? It's really funny you say that, because I remember any media situation I'd be in that's really stressful, I would look for someone that's familiar, and like
We'd
the
end up
amount of
together.
the amount of times I've seen Haroon, I'm like, Haroon, stick with me,
We'd
and he's like,
gravitate
stick with
towards one
we
another.
do
Yeah.
actually
So
do,
funny.
because it is that offloading of, oh my God, and to think to do that now. I'm like, oh my God. But you know, like you were saying, like, you know, you thought of your cousins and your friends getting married, and, you know, it's also that notion of, but that's all they've got to concentrate on. Because I was under the impression, like, when the whole idea of sort of me getting married and doing that, I was always under the impression of, oh my God, okay, I'm going to have to put that first. And that's always going to have to be my priority, without thinking, oh no, hold on, I'm getting married to a partner who I can talk about these things to, who can help me balance that out, who can give me that support. But you don't know that until that happens, or, you know, like it's.
Right. So
Yeah.
unless you know the benefit of what you're giving your time to,
Yeah.
you will not prioritize it, right? So for me, career and work, I could visualize the benefit of it.
Yeah.
I
Right.
knew that if I focus on this and I focus on being the best possible interviewer, being the best possible journalist, being the best possible at my job, the visceral result of that will be that I will maybe rise to, I will get a promotion. I will get to interview a bigger celebrity. I will get paid more. You know, like there
Yeah.
are tangible things that I could see in my mind as being a result of my focus on that one thing.
Yeah.
What I didn't realize is if I also prioritize relationships, there is a companionship there that
Yeah.
at one point I'm going to want to rely on.
Yeah.
If I prioritize my health, I will be in a better, fitter state to do the other
Yeah.
things of my life. If I go to the gym, my mental health will be in a better place.
Yeah.
I will feel less stressed. I will feel less burnt out. If I focus on my family, like for example, the sense of responsibility that the start of the pandemic gave me, it was like, you know what? I really love my grandparents. I really
Yeah.
love my family. I really love my parents, my sister. I don't want to be in a position later in life where I regret not having given them the due attention that they and care that they deserve. The pandemic, I've always been somebody who cares deeply about my family, and I've always been someone who prioritizes that. I wouldn't say that I've ever neglected that, but the pandemic made me view it in a different way, right? Like before, it'd be like me living with my grandparents would be like my nana saying, "Oh, can you print these documents that I need? Or like, can you renew my car insurance? Can you renew your home insurance? Can you do this? Can you do that?" And you do all of it, but you almost do it as it's far down your priority list,
Yeah.
right? It's not high up your priority list. And then all of a sudden, in this scenario, I was arranging doctor's appointments, taking phone appointments, you know, all
You're
of that.
pretty much their carer.
Right.
Yeah.
In that scenario, and I'm like, this deserves equal amount of
Absolutely.
attention from me as my professional career does.
Yeah.
So how does that look now? Like obviously we're out of the pandemic. We are. I'd like to think we're normal, but it's a different.
It's a different normal.
It's
We're
not,
in
it's
the
not
different
we were
normal.
used
Yeah,
to
yeah,
before.
yeah.
So how does that look for you now?
So I think it's quite scary because what Shama's saying about how you can't believe that you used to go in. I go into the office 6 days a week right now, so I'm in every day, and I can feel like old habits might start creeping in again, and I'm
Right.
trying so hard to nip them in the bud before they get out of hand. And those old habits are lifestyle habits. So, for example, if you're at work and somebody makes social events after work, you do sometimes feel obliged to
Yeah,
attend those
yeah,
social events.
you do.
If you're at work and you haven't tied up all the things you need to tie up, you might feel okay staying on 2 or 3 extra hours in the evening and not leaving until 8 p.m.
Oh God.
And that might mean that you might not be able to go to the gym.
Yeah.
And if you don't go to the gym, you might not feel fit. And actually, if you're tired, then you might eat more carbs. And you know, it's
a domino effect,
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
literally a
Yeah.
domino effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how it looks right now is that I have identified that some old habits might return, and I don't want them to.
But I think that's really positive because you're consciously seeing that, oh, this might be me.
Yeah.
But I'm consciously trying not to get there.
And
right?
if I do want to ask, like, if there is a time where you probably will get times where that does take over, you will be like, I know this is happening, but I need to do this. Sort of, are you someone who will be like, okay, I feel really bad about it? Or are you someone who's like, okay, look, that's happened then. Now I've got to make sure I'm even more conscious of it, making sure that I don't do it.
Okay, so I've got a really weird perspective on this, and I'd like your opinion on this.
Right.
So, I don't think that you can have, as an individual, I'm not talking about men or women.
Yeah.
I don't think you can have all things at the same time. And the way I sort of see it as I like tokens, right? So like when you're having a period where you can focus on yourself, you can be optimum with your health and your fitness and your food and your nutrition and your family time and your hobbies and all the rest of it. You kind of bank it up, you bank up that energy and you kind of load up those tokens, and they're there and they're sat there. And then you go through a period where work is crazy busy, hectic, and is non-stop, and you are neglecting those other aspects, but you're banking it up because it's worth it at that time. It's worth focusing on the work. I don't know if I've
no, that's a really good
expressed it very well. But like, I'll give you my example. So the last 2 months of work have been ridiculously busy, like ridiculously busy to the extent where I'm working 6 to 7 days a week, and in those 6 to 7 days a week I'm working like up to 12 to 14 hours a day, and it's literally that. And I know that because of that, sometimes I'm too tired to go to the gym in the morning, or I don't have the energy in the evening, or you know what, there's nothing more I want than a burger at the end of the night. You know, like I know that that's happening.
Yeah.
But those opportunities are too good for me to pass up on.
Yeah.
Like I went to IFA last month. It was crazy busy. I'm still dealing with a lot of that now because a lot of the content hasn't gone out yet because it's going into something else, and I have to be part of that.
Yeah.
Those meetings, or like I was hosting this gig with the Quick Star the other day, and that gig, I did a full shift in Birmingham doing my show, drove down to London, did this gig in the evening, wrapped up at like 1 a.m. And I know that other parts of my life are suffering for that, but it's okay because a quiet time will come at work, and then I will be able to focus on the other things. And I don't know if that's a good way or not.
You can go first.
Okay, no. I actually agree with you. I think it's that you can't have everything all at the same time all the time. And I completely agree that it is, because it's also the way I think of it is, so things have happened in my life where so many things have just changed without me even expecting it, and it's how you handle that, because it's like, you know, we go in thinking, like the career, for instance, this is what's going to happen, this is how I'm going to do it, I'm going to do like work, but then you actually don't know what's around the corner. And how do you not train your mind, but how do you deal with those changes? How can you make sure that, you know, you understand that you've got all these other aspects? If something does go wrong or something doesn't go to plan in one aspect, it's ensuring that all the other aspects in your life, you are, you know, like you've got your family there who will support you. You've got sort of, if you're in a relationship, you've got that person. If you've got good health, you're in a more sort of mental state to, you know, be kinder to yourself and stuff like that. And I think, that whole banking them all up is a really, really great way of, I mean, it's a great analogy. I love that analogy, but it is that.
But the risk is always that the tokens will run low. Like the way I think of it is like a slot machine, and the tokens are running low. And once it starts running low, then you're at risk of burnout.
Yeah.
I agree with that. So I kind of partly agree with you guys.
Okay.
But I think, even though I totally get your scenario, because in the media it is a bit like that, but I personally feel like when being in the media, when you're in the UK, a lot happens in the summer.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So like you might have 4 months
Yeah.
or 5 months
Yeah.
of summer, and then the winter's literally calmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After it's
You
after,
see what I
it's
mean?
after
So I
Diwali.
do-
Diwali is like the big massive like, oh my god, things
but
are
also
happening, and then it's
everyone comes to London
yeah,
in the
Yeah.
summer.
everyone
Yeah.
comes to London.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
actually mad. So obviously, I don't know if your opportunities relate to that kind of period.
I think it's very valid. I think the
Yeah.
summer is definitely busier. Yeah.
Exactly. So then I kind of do agree with you then that, you know, like in this period you will be busy and you might not kind of pay attention to some of the other things.
Yeah.
But it will work itself out. But also, I also think to myself, like we were saying, that if it is, for example, going to the gym, and I've not been a gym goer for some time, but I try and kind of eat healthy. I try and, whenever I can be bothered, stay away from sugar, which doesn't always happen. But, you know, stuff like that, it's, for me, it's a conscious thing. And if I'm making the decision to have a dessert, it's just one dessert. Do you
Yeah.
get what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes we expect a lot of ourselves. And I think for me, that's definitely calmed down during the pandemic because I expected so much of myself that something had to give, right? And something has to give. So I feel like in your busy period, I feel like that busy period will eventually turn into a bit of a lull, maybe, and
True,
it
but
will
you
re-enter.
you can always if you become focused on that, or you let that, because I think it's also about setting boundaries. I think you have to
Yeah.
set boundaries to some extent, and you need to know when to also pass up on opportunities for other parts
Yes.
of your life. Like today's a good example. Actually, today's a good example. So after this recording, I have a family barbecue and a family also one of my little niece's birthday parties to go to, and I know at the same time there are interviews happening with Varun Dhawan. Like I know that this is happening this afternoon,
Yeah.
and there is no way that I'm going to go and do an interview with Varun Dhawan
On a Sunday.
on a Sunday.
on a Sunday
Yeah.
afternoon, in place of going to a family gathering that actually I want to be at. 5 years ago, that decision might have been different.
I was just gonna ask, like, yeah, would that have changed? Like, if you were just starting your career and this was happening back then, what would you have chosen to do?
I think 5 years ago, I think even maybe just before the pandemic, maybe the decision might have been different. And it's interesting because I have worked on Eids, I have worked on birthdays, I have worked on, I have done things. I remember you guys were at the Happy New Year junket.
Yes.
Yeah, so that day was the day before Eid, I remember.
Yeah, it was.
And it was, there was two, that's a great example of me not knowing when to set my boundaries.
Yeah.
Because it was the same day there was interviews with the cast of Happy New Year happening at one hotel. There was an interview with Kangana Ranaut happening at
Yes,
another
oh
hotel.
my god, I
Yeah.
remember
On the
this so
same day.
well.
Oh my
Yeah.
And the Haroon of 2014 was doing it all.
Oh, yeah.
So I came to the Happy New Year junket. I did an interview with Deepika and Farah. Then I went to the Kangana interview. And this is another hotel altogether. Went and did a Kangana interview. Came back to the Happy New Year junket. Did Abhishek and the rest of the gang interview. And completely missed out on any family Eids, like Chandrat celebrations at home. And at the time didn't think twice about it. Like for me, it just did not, it just, that was where I needed to be. That was what I needed to do. And I did it. And I don't think I would make those decisions now.
So do you get like pressure from the family and stuff like
No.
this?
No,
Okay.
my family's like super understanding. They know
fantastic.
Do you know
this
what?
is my job.
And I think, you know what, you saying that, I think that makes it more. Do you think it makes it easier for you to make that decision of, oh, now I'm going to spend time with my family because they're so supportive and they've always never made you feel like you shouldn't be concentrating on your career and everything? Does that give you an extra kind of be like, you know what, I actually want to be there for my family?
Yeah, maybe. I think also as you get older, and I think as you get towards the end of your 20s and you reach 30, you're like, you know what, your family means a lot more to you than any job is ever going to mean.
Absolutely.
And any interview is ever going to mean. And, I heard you guys talk in your episode about British Asian media about how, Amrita, you said that you've built some friendships with, like, I'm not friends with any of these people. Like, none of these.
No. This is what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
That was not an expectation at all.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. None of these people are my friends, and I don't want to be friends with them.
Precisely.
But I care about my family, and I want
Yeah.
to spend time with them, and
Yeah.
I want to be there for moments that matter. And so, actually, there might come a time where I might have to pass up on a family gathering because the work commitment is so important. But that would have been a calculated decision that I've made rather
Yeah.
than a rushed, I need to focus on my career.
Yeah.
It's weird because hearing you say that, because for me personally, I feel like I got there ages ago, but my situation is different, obviously, because media was a side hustle.
Yeah.
I had to make that decision quite quickly in every scenario where an opportunity came up. Is this worth me taking time off from my day job?
Yeah.
Or is this worth me working on a weekend? Do you get what I
Yeah.
mean?
But
I've
also-
had that all the way through.
Also, it's the fact that we were doing that voluntarily.
Yeah, this is what I mean. So
It's
because
that-
it was a side hustle, it's completely different.
So it's sort of like our focus was different. Because I remember we went to watch Jab Tak Hai Jaan Diwali Day, like morning at Diwali. And I remember saying to my mum, I'm going to go and I'll be back like before the afternoon. And she was just like, okay, I understand you need to do this, but I'd rather you be at home. As she would.
Yeah.
As she would. But it's that thing of like, sort of having it, because no matter who's there or what's there, you've got to also do it for yourself. Figure out what is right for you to do
Yeah.
for yourself.
Absolutely.
You know, and and you're right, like as we get older, it is trying to like find that balance. And you know, like for me at the moment, my struggle is like finding the balance of, okay, doing the podcast, but then also going from, all right, my husband's got his side of the family and things that are happening on his side of the family, and then things that are happening on my side of the family, and what do we do when something's happening together? And you know, like
You split up. No, I'm
just
joking.
literally, I mean, and let's be honest, it's really funny because I had this conversation. I was just like, okay, you go to my side because they like you better, and I'll go to your side because they like me better.
That's a great.
You know,
that's a
like,
great-
Just
yeah.
split up.
but no, but it's that thing of like I've now got an added extra of, oh no, I don't have something just happening with my family. I have to build new relationships with this new family that I'm married into. And it's sort of like trying to figure out, I'm not doing that. Okay, I'm doing it for myself, but I'm also doing that for my partner who's supporting me in doing stuff like a podcast and doing, you know, making sure that when I'm working, like supporting me when I want to go for like a new job or like, you know, all these little things. And it's difficult. It is hard. And I think for me, I'm a bit of a people pleaser. I'm like, no, let me try and see if I can do everything.
Right, so I get FOMO. I do get FOMO. I get it much less now. I get it much less
Yeah.
now. But earlier, I would really feel like, what am I missing out on?
As
Yeah.
in interview wise or like opportunity wise?
Opportunity wise, less family wise, because you're. The biggest problem is that we all as individuals take our family for granted. 'Cause
Yes,
we're like, we're not missing out on
absolutely.
anything because they're always going to be there.
Yeah,
You know? They're always
yeah.
going to be there. And, you know, if we miss out on this one, well,
I'll go
they'll
to
be
the
there-
next
they'll
one.
be there next week, you know.
Yes, it's
You know, and so that less FOMO with, but friendship definitely. You know, I want to be part of friendship gatherings,
Yeah.
for example, and also I don't know about you guys, but I feel like as you get older, I can't take on as much as I could take
Oh,
on
yeah.
before.
I mean, this has been
Absolutely
after
not.
COVID. I can't even talk. I
Absolutely.
can't even say that it's because of my.
Yeah, COVID. Maybe that is.
I think
Maybe
for me,
that
it definitely is. It
So-
definitely is.
So for now, like, Friday is a good example. The quick style gig I was hosting. One of my best friends, he was like, "Oh, I'll come. I want to come to the gig, but I'm coming from quite far, and I only want to come if we're gonna go out for dinner and
Oh, okay.
stuff after."
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? Like, I can't commit to that
Yeah.
because I can't. I'm working a full day in Birmingham, coming to London, working the full evening in London. I have a show the next morning, and I can't compromise on my sleep now.
Yeah,
Like, I
absolutely.
need. So, but before I'd be like, yeah, man, let's go for dinner, let's go for shisha, let's do this, let's do that, let's go for drinks, and then I'd get home at 2-3 a.m. and I would sleep 4 hours
That's
and then
mad.
carry on.
Well, has anyone, okay, apart from your family, because you've said that they've been really supportive, but have you, from your friends group or even at work, like, how do you deal with someone not understanding that? Has anyone ever made you feel bad for like pretty much putting yourself first, but being like, you're not making any time for me, or like how?
You know what? All of my friends, and maybe that's the reason they are my friends,
Yeah.
is that they are very
Yeah.
understanding. Like, they are very understanding.
Because you would not be friends with anyone who was not
No.
understanding.
No, I just think like
He doesn't have time for you if you don't have time for him.
yeah, no, but I feel like you get out of relationships what you put into
Yeah,
it. So when
absolutely.
I'm there for them, I'm fully there for them, and when I'm not there for them, they know there's a good reason why.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
so
good.
there's no like mixed like there's no imbalance in those friendships, I don't think. And when there is, I'm quite good at identifying
Yeah.
that I need to put more work into it. And if I have put less work into it, I will make it a priority to try and improve on that. Because I don't think friendship should be one-sided. Like,
No, not
you
at
know,
all.
I don't want to be in a friendship where the other person is putting more into it than I am. I'd feel like
Yeah.
a bad friend.
Or vice versa.
Yeah.
You're putting in more, you realize that you're putting in more than they are.
Yeah.
And it's like, especially if there's an understanding of what your lifestyle's like, how your lifestyle changes as well. So it's sort of, it's one of those things where people try and work around what's happening.
Yeah.
It's always that effort. It's always that, oh, hold on. They've got this, but they also managed to come to something of mine, for even if it's for like 5 minutes or 10, having that kind of, they wanted to show up because they wanted to be there.
But people show up in different ways, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Like
yeah.
you don't have to. One of my friends went and bought a full price ticket to the gig I was hosting on Friday because they just wanted to support.
How sweet.
Yeah.
It was so lovely. It was such a lovely gesture. And it was great because that was their way of showing support. But another friend doesn't have to do their way of showing support or showing up doesn't have to be that.
That exact
No,
thing.
yeah, it's different.
But I think it also depends on the kind of friendship you have, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously this might be a biased view, but I feel like most of my friends now are friends I knew from when I was at school or college, and I've still maintained the friendships, and the friendship groups are still there. So therefore, they know, they know that, like you say, that there's a very good reason if I'm saying no to something, or I'm saying, can we postpone it, or whatever it is. And I think that's really important because those are the friends who know you from way before you joined the media industry or had all these opportunities coming your way. And they know that you're working hard towards that, and they don't resent you for it.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. But whereas I feel like newer friends might not have that same understanding. Obviously, there's a level of them trying, but might not have that same understanding of you've worked that hard and you're getting the opportunities because you've put in the years of work. Do you see what I mean?
But do you struggle to make newer friends? Because I do.
I don't know, actually, because I think it depends in the scenario that you meet them, because I think in the media it can be really difficult to make proper friends, which is probably why we are still friends, because we knew each other from years ago.
Yeah.
But now, if I was to try and, obviously I'm a bit older as well, and now I feel like there's like, for example, teenagers or people in their early 20s trying to make a media career. And I feel like their goalposts are so different to what mine were back then.
Well, I think talking about the media, for me, like, I would not survive the media. I would not be able to doing what you do. I would not be able to survive it. Like, I do not have that cutthroat kind of, oh my God. Because for me, especially like when I first got into going to events and seeing how people are, like, for me, it's like, it doesn't take much to be nice and to be kind. It doesn't take much. And this whole thing of like, oh my God, like, you're all there for the same thing. But I think in an instance like that, I don't think I could be friends with people from, like, I just don't think that would work for me in terms of, like, I just, it's just too kind of,
it's kind of artificial.
Like, I'm just happy that I'm there and I've got the opportunity. Whereas a lot of the people that I met during like a lot of these media events was very much like, don't you know who I am? Like, do you have it?
I love that.
It's sort of like.
So that's the worst possible attitude to have.
Yeah.
But I would say that I think, because like I said, that British Asian media episode you did was my favourite of your first season because I could relate to so much of it. I have to defend the British Asian media industry slightly. You don't have to be that person.
No,
I wouldn't describe myself as cutthroat.
I don't think you are.
I wouldn't describe myself as somebody who who's unfriendly. I would describe myself as a friendly person.
Yeah.
And I would describe myself as someone who, like, there's enough space in this industry for everyone.
There is.
And you don't have to be that guy or that girl who is, don't you know who I am? Or, who is guarding themselves from everyone. You don't have to be that person. And like you said, everyone is there for the same thing. I think also as you get... But I can understand where that comes from for the people who do behave like that. Because of the nature of this industry, and secondly because it's that balance of priorities, right? If that is their only priority in life at that time, then that is the only thing that they think they need to focus on, they will be ruthless in trying to get it, and they will not have realized that is one part of the puzzle of life for them, and that actually it's okay if somebody gets a better interview on this occasion.
See, I think that's a really mature way of looking at it, and I think because personally for me, I don't only come from the media. And when, you know, when we first started out reviewing, I wasn't there to meet celebrities. I
Yeah.
was there just to put my opinion across. And I think it's a really difficult, it's a different start to where other people might have fully got their fit in by getting an actual job or volunteering in a different way when they are meeting celebrities or whatever it is. But I think that I don't want to concentrate too much on media,
Yeah.
but I do genuinely think that we make it look easy. I used to
Yeah.
say this to one of my colleagues at the outlet that I used to work at. I used to say it all the time. People like us, we make it look easy. But realistically, it's really hard waiting on things having been postponed and you having to make extra time for them, dealing with attitudes of PR people, publicists, celebrities themselves. I think we make it look easy.
Actually, going on from that, just not even for the media, like just going on from your own socials, Haroon, you literally your dance videos, your fitness videos, they're all like, oh my god, he's been doing this for 8. Like it does actually. You see the small clip of socials and stuff like that, and been like, oh my god, like it's such a drastic change, and it's you're doing so well for yourself, but behind the scenes, I can imagine when you first started. Like, it must have been... Because it's a complete change from what you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, like...
But I think, like, for example, all those things that I do now...
Yeah.
Like, even the fact that I'm a presenter now, I didn't start off as a presenter, you know? Like I said, I worked in radio production, and then was a journalist. I think I'm a better presenter for the fact that I have focused on more things than just work. Because it gives me better perspective on what else is going on in life than just one thing. And also to broaden it from media, I think the same idea applies to every industry where, you know, both of you in your full-time jobs must meet people who are just not nice at work and are competitive and do not want to share things and do not want to be helpful. And I think I've come to a place where, and I think I've always kind of I think I've always had this perspective, which is their behavior is a result of their view of that job. Like for them, that is the be all and end all to them, because unfortunately they have not had the privilege of being able to see more in life. Like for them, this is all they know and this is all they want, and this is what they think is going to bring them satisfaction and nothing else. And the beauty of, this is a really strange thing to say, but the beauty of the pandemic was that it gave me the opportunity to look at other things in life. Like going back to, for example, health, I feel so much better as an individual for reprioritizing my health. Like, and that's when I say health, I mean an amalgamation of fitness, diet, supplements, like everything that and mental health, like, you know, all of those things, and sleep I'd include in that as well.
Absolutely.
Like all of these things are so important to changing your perspective on your work. Like doing those things makes you better in other aspects of your life. And
is this like a realization you came to after starting that journey?
Yes, because in the first 3 months of the pandemic, I actually focused on, like, I just learned to cook. And it was amazing. It was great. Like, I learned to cook and it was so good. But I put on loads of weight because of it as well. The first three...
I think we all did during the pandemic.
Yes, absolutely.
So the first 3 months of the pandemic, March to June, I put on an unhealthy amount of weight because I was cooking amazing food and somebody had to eat it. So I was eating it.
Somebody was you.
That's somebody and my grandparents. But the
That's
three,
right.
they had the best diet during the first 3 months of the pandemic because they were eating.
Exactly.
I'd made. And then I had like a bit of a moment where I knew that one of my best friends was going to get married the following year. I knew that I was going to turn 30 the following year. I knew that there was these major moments that were going to happen in my life, and that I wasn't going to... It started from a vain perspective of I wasn't going to look good in those moments, and very quickly changed to I wasn't going to feel good in those moments. And then it became about more of an internal feeling of feeling healthy. And then I, like, overnight found a personal trainer, and it was July time, so I could train in the park at that time. So I was training in the park, and changed my diet and changed everything. And I haven't looked back since, but man, I would not be as happy as I am today if I'd continued doing what I was doing.
Because I was going to ask you, how did you figure out what works for you? because there's a lot of that, there's a lot of kind of, exercise and eat healthy and stuff like that, but everyone's different. So how did you find that, okay, how did you come to the conclusion of trying these things out and, okay, this is what works for me now? Like,
Well,
what did you do?
Again, like, this is another thing. I feel like as South Asians, a lot of us are taught not to spend, well, we're all taught not to spend money.
No.
But the thing is, we would spend money on buying a gift for someone, right?
Yeah.
So to make somebody else happy, we would spend money, happily. But what about making ourselves feel good?
Yeah, that's true.
What about... And I think the biggest gift you can give to yourself is happiness, right? So the first thing I had to do was come to terms with the fact that I will have to spend money on myself to better myself. And that's hard to do because you think it's cheating. You think hiring a personal trainer is cheating because you think you don't have the willpower to do it yourself. You think buying expensive food is a waste of money. Because why? You can make dal in pennies. Like, you don't need to spend good money on it. And actually, if you are lucky enough to be able to have, if you are fortunate enough to be able to have that, it's disposable income at that time to be able to spend on those things, then you have to. I feel like you have to allow yourself to do it.
Yeah.
Like, if it's gonna help you, and that was the first thing. So I got a personal trainer. I started buying better quality food that was like natural, more fruits and vegetables. Like, it's really simple.
It
is simple.
I say this
It
all
is
the
really
time.
simple.
It's so simple, but people don't realise how simple it is until they get into that mindset.
Yeah.
You know, like...
And see, like, I do not like going to the gym. I've tried it plenty of times ever since I was in uni. I've tried it, so I'm just not a gym goer. But I started doing classes. I've done so many classes, and I've loved it. And it's not for any other reason, but just to move my body and do something that really makes me happy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's that, and this is why I wanted to say, like, how, because, there's so much information about this is how you can get fit and this is how you can do these things.
And
but
most of it is rubbish.
yeah, it's like, but if it doesn't work for you, then what you like, it's all of us. It's almost as though, oh, if you don't go to the gym, then you're not being healthy.
Also, I think that there's a big thing about look, I'm lucky enough that I can do this because I don't have commitments that stop me from doing this, right? Like, so I'm not married right now. I don't have kids right now. I speak to some of my family and friends who I know that are married or who have kids, and their lifestyle and their routine is what it can't be helped. Like, it can't be changed. They have young kids. They have to be at home at certain times. They work long hours. They don't have the freedom and the luxury of being able to focus on their health. I am blessed that I have that luxury at this point in my life. I would be stupid not to take it. Yeah. Like, I would be stupid to not take advantage of the fact that I have that opportunity right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I totally agree with you. But I just want to just wind back slightly to when you said that it was your friend's wedding where you thought, you're not going to...
I'm not going to look good.
So I think that was what I wanted. I'm so sorry to touch on that, but I wanted to ask you, because was that like you kind of almost admitting that you've been happy, but then you realise, actually, I'm not that happy with the way that you look or the way that you are, like your habits at that time or whatever it was.
So this is really interesting. So obviously, up until this was like the first one of my best friends and the first friend in our friendship group who was going to get married. So then what I'm thinking is, these are my friends for life now, because I've been friends with them for well over 10 years. Yeah. And these photos are going to live on forever. And I don't want to look back at these photos and not be happy with the way I was looking. And secondly, it wasn't like it was going to be the first time that I've been in a photo, right? I've been on camera for years in my job. I've been on TV. I've done interviews. I've been everywhere. However, I've always known that I didn't feel comfortable with how I looked, but I knew that my interviews were shit hot, so I was like, it's fine. Like, I was like, it's fine. The content itself is...
This is the type of confidence.
Nothing has changed there.
Yes.
I'm like, I know that I'm good at my job.
Absolutely.
I know the content is really good. Yeah. So it doesn't matter how I look on camera. People will get over the fact that I don't look like... who's a good-looking interviewer?
I was going to say John Abraham then, but he's an interviewer.
Who's a good-looking interviewer? Are there any? I don't know, but anyway, people will get over the fact... Yeah, thanks. Thanks. People will get over the fact that I'm not, like, looking as good as the actors I'm
Yeah.
interviewing, because the content of the quality of the interview is good enough.
It's good enough, yeah.
And so I didn't prioritize it.
Okay. But then what made you have that switch? Because I'm sure it wasn't just the fact that it was your
I
friends.
think it was the bigger part was that I was going to turn 30 and I didn't want
Okay.
to start a new
Yeah.
decade of my life with the same problems that I was having in my 20s. And also, let's not beat around the bush. Apart from like the very obvious physical appearance, it's not good for your health.
No,
And
it's not.
I was having health problems as well. Like I was having to go for appointments and finding out what was going on with me, and like just unhealthy problems that I didn't realize at the time, but were a clear result of my irresponsibility with my diet
Yeah.
and lack of fitness.
But you know, you're talking about sleep and everything. It all does tie into one.
Yeah.
It ties into one, and it's like on the opposite end. Like I went through loads of health issues where I had to like just not eat because of nothing to do with my weight, but just the way that my body was reacting to certain foods, and I found that I had lost so much weight, and I'm like, it kind of put that thing into perspective of, oh no, I actually look better with a little bit of weight on.
Yeah.
Like I got so skinny that I literally looked ill. And it's that whole thing of like, oh, hold on. We are so consumed with this is how you should look and this is how you should be, and you know, it's and that really, really opened my eyes up to think, oh my God, actually, no. Like some people look great if they're really skinny, but there are a lot of people who don't, and you need to have that. It is about having that balance.
But it's so personal.
Absolutely. Oh my God, yeah, it is. It really is. And you learn so much about your body, like so much about yourself, and it is about like it can be really overwhelming when you're like, oh, I've got to do everything all at once. But even just starting one by one and figuring that out, it's it's not always about you having to stop something to start something. You know, it's about, for me, it's definitely been about trying to incorporate like some sort of health and fitness into the way that I'm living now, where possible. Just starting off with that, and then, yeah. But obviously everyone's different, so it could be.
I was going to say, the thing is though, if I hadn't have had that moment in the pandemic where my workload slowed down a little bit, I don't know if I could have given it that time.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So that's the thing, right? Like, so my workload slowed down only slightly. I still had, basically, I was quite lucky. Just before the pandemic, I'd gone to Mumbai and I had a bank of content that was going to roll out over the next few months anyway. I had 2 podcast series that were about to release, and I was working on the edit for a lot of them. So my workload was a little bit more relaxed at the start of the pandemic, and that allowed me to find the time to do 10,000 steps every day, go to the park and work out, etc. And if that had not have happened, I think I would have always used the excuse of I don't have time to never do it. Also, rewinding back a little bit more, like much further back, and I can't remember at what point we said this, but I wanted to make the point of how do you find the work ethic or the approach to work of the younger generation coming into the workplace? And I'll tell you why I say that is because earlier I said, oh, it's okay now if I need to put in 2 hours, 3 hours extra in the office, because I know that there'll be a time where it's a little bit quieter and I can, bank up those tokens in other places later. But I feel like I learn a lot from a newer generation of people in the workplace whose boundaries are far more set than mine ever were. And I don't know how I feel about it.
I kind of do agree, to be fair, because I do feel like younger people have come in and already know what they want in a way, and have already set, right, this is how many hours I'm going to give this. Then I'm cutting off, I'll do it tomorrow. Or whatever it is. But I think what blurs the lines for me in my workplace is the work from home. Because I feel like, me included in this, the younger generation are just putting in extra hours from home, but when they're physically in the office, there's more of a boundary.
Right.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a bit of a balance.
The thing for me, I definitely feel like the one thing that sticks out for me is their awareness of everything is so much. They are so much more aware than I ever was when I was their age, and like what that means for them. So it's almost as though I can't, like that part I can't really relate to, because I'm like, oh my God, when I was your age, I had no clue about something like, it was that kind of,
I do feel like the internet has made the world smaller.
well, absolutely, it's that.
The reason I mention it is because, like, for example, me in my early 20s saw nothing except work, right? Like, and work and socializing. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm making it sound like all I did was work. I partied hard as well. Like, I really enjoyed, I really enjoyed that time. But I would work extra, and I think that those extra hours of work, and everything I've said, I don't regret doing any of it at that time, but all that extra work that I did put me in a far better position and gave me better opportunities, and did result in, I think, me being in a better place in my career now. But I see a newer generation of people coming into the workplace who have their boundaries much better set and have a much better proportion of work-life balance, and have their health focus and their mental health focus and everything else, and their relationships. And I don't know if they will progress at work in the same way with that work ethic.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, but I do feel like that's not through a lack of ambition, because I think where we in the kind of roles that we're in, I feel like there are, like, I feel like I started in this in the office that I'm in a different role in my late 20s, and I feel like I was ambitious enough, but not as ambitious as someone like in that age now coming into the same. I just feel like the ambition is so much more.
Yeah, you saying that because in like in my office, it's literally been like, I've been at my job for like 5 years now, and it is that sort of progression and figuring out what I want to do and all of that. But a lot of the younger generation have come in and then gone on straight away to like within the year they're like, yep, I've gotten a fast stream, or I've gotten a this, or I've gotten a,
you think it does work in their
so
to
I
their
think
advantage?
it does. I think it, because they have a lot more focus in, okay, if this works, because they've got that space for setting their boundaries, they're just focused on, okay, this works for me, this doesn't, right, I can change it. Whereas I think for us it's been, oh no, I have to prove myself.
Yeah.
It's that thing of,
I think it's a slight mindset difference.
Maybe, it's like I've got to prove myself to make sure that I'm capable to move up. Whereas for them, it's just like, well, I don't want to do this, I'm going to go and try something else. And because they've got that kind of mindset of, I'm setting my boundaries, they're basically making life work for them instead of everyone else, them work for everyone else. Does that make sense?
How do we change our mindset to match that, though? Because it's so hard.
It's so
because
hard.
when I see it in the workplace, and like I said, I was managing a team for a short while as well, and when I see that mindset, my instinct is that you won't get further in your career because you're not putting in that extra work, and because you're not working those extra hours. And for some reason, I have it drilled into me that you have to work overtime to get further.
But who's drilling it into you?
I think it is like a culture coming into the workplace.
Yeah.
And like, I think it was like, if you don't show you're overly keen, then you aren't seen to be a good employee.
Yeah, you have to be. It's like showing that you're committed
Yes.
to the, not only to your job but to the company and to the, like
Yes.
and I think it also stems from, like, when like I mean, I don't know if they have these interview questions anymore, but the kind of, where do you see yourself in 5 years, and the expectation is that you say you see yourself in that company or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, you see, kind of, it's
I don't think
that.
I've ever answered that.
I don't think I've ever answered it like, honestly, but it's I think
do you not think that at the start of your career, like, it was about putting in, like, just making yourself be seen to be like, this is all that matters in my life and nothing else?
So it's weird that you ask that, because as you're asking it, I feel like I did think that when I was doing the media stuff, but not so much in my actual day job.
But that's because the media industry is deluded, and they expect
That's
you...
what I mean. But you kind of fit into that in a way, because you feel like you, like, exactly as you said.
Interviews at like 8 a.m.
This is what I mean.
10 p.m. Sundays.
That you're always available.
You're always available.
The amount of times that, like, I remember you getting black people coming, like people from like India are saying, oh, there's an interview happening tomorrow, and it's like 3:00 in the morning here.
Yeah.
And it's like
that's happened to me, where someone has called me while I've been at work in the office. Someone's called me like, oh, can you talk to this person in an hour? No.
at work.
I have no facility to do this while I'm at work. What do you mean you're at work? Can you not find a room? No.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, but that's because I think the world revolves around them.
But also,
That's
yeah,
all
that's it,
is.
that's
Yeah,
what it
and
is.
also I do think that some people don't realise that it was a side hustle.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? In Indian or Asian media, people don't actually understand that not all roles are proper
Yeah.
roles.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I do genuinely feel like I put in more into my media hustle in the same way that you did, because I felt like I had to be seen to be able to get the opportunities or take advantage of the opportunities in order to move on to the next bigger
Yeah.
opportunity. Whereas I don't feel that in my day job.
That's good that you don't feel that in your day job.
Maybe I just don't feel
I
it.
think
and I'm
I've
just one of the
started
people
to
who
feel it
doesn't.
now because
you are?
I think for now, because I think after I left uni, this is another thing about the ambition thing. I was just very lost when I left uni. I was like, what am I going to do with my life now? Like, you know, it was so easy to have that transition educationally. And then it was one of those things where, I mean, I've always loved surprisingly, I've always loved every job that I've done. It's been absolutely amazing and I've met the most amazing people. But it was just going from one thing to another. And then now I kind of feel like, okay, I'm settled in something. And again, it's that awareness now. I'm a lot more aware of myself and what I want to do and what I'm passionate about. And that has changed through the years. So now I'm kind of like, okay, now I've got to do something that works for me. And just figuring that out. But yeah.
Set your boundaries.
Set my boundaries.
As we've just been saying. That's the best thing you can do.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So we are introducing a new segment into our episodes. At the end of every episode, we're going to play a few this or that questions.
Yes.
Oh man! Oh, I'm excited but also nervous. Okay.
Oh, don't worry.
But you're not on the couch. So
You're
to
not on the
speak.
couch, yeah.
So we're not on Coffee with
You're
Curry.
not with
Okay,
coffee.
fine.
Well, there's no current here. There is no hamper here. I'm sorry.
Oh, so what do I get?
You just get the wonderful presence of us two.
Okay, fine. Because I love you two so much. Fine.
I think that should be the cut. I love you two so much.
Yes.
Anyway. Okay. So, yeah. So we're going to do this or that, and
This or
Shama's
that.
going to go first.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee. That was easy.
That was easy.
Tea is like one of those drinks that I will have if like I'm in a meh kind of mood.
I
Like,
see.
but coffee is my go-to first thing in the morning. Although I have to have a cut off because otherwise I'm up till 2 late. I can't have coffee past. I push it. I can't have coffee past 4 p.m.
That's a good.
Oh,
that's
God,
a
that's
good shout.
early. I thought it would be later than that.
No,
the
what's
cut-off.
yours?
I don't drink coffee.
At all?
No, I've
How
never
are you
been. I just
surviving?
don't. I don't like the taste of it.
Do you drink coffee?
Sometimes.
What's your cut off?
Oh, I don't have a cut off.
Oh, wow.
I do not have a cut off.
Okay.
That means you're probably a regular drinker.
Yes.
And you're, yeah.
I'm just not.
Okay.
Fair enough. Okay. The second this or that, and I know you've done loads of roles as you've just said, but I'm going to just narrow it down to 2. Entertainment reporter or radio presenter?
I think radio presenter. I think
Okay.
with entertainment reporter, you're in too much of a. Actually, it depends at what age you're doing the job. I think when I was an entertainment reporter, it was the best job in the world. I got to travel around the world, interviewing the biggest stars, going to Shah Rukh Khan's house, like doing the best things in the world, and it was
Yes, he did say Shah Rukh Khan's house.
Absolutely.
yes, and it was amazing. But parts of that job are also they make you compromise on certain parts of your life that you don't want to compromise on, and some of that is actually about your self-worth as well.
Yeah.
Whereas as a radio presenter, I feel like it's a much more wholesome job, wholesome role.
Cool.
So, you've had a bit of a stint in going to Pakistan and you know, like interacting with a lot of their sort of celebrities.
Yeah.
So, Bollywood or Lollywood?
Oh, Bollywood.
Yes.
But that's
Oh,
because
wow. I didn't think
Okay,
you'd say that.
yeah.
yeah, it's Bollywood, but look, Pakistani entertainment has a massive part of my heart as well because I've seen it grow over the last few years. But I think they've got a long way to go. I think what they're doing is amazing, and like there's this film out right now called Teri Meri Kahaniyan, which is really good. It's a Pakistani film. Pakistani dramas are amazing as well. But you can't take away the childhood nostalgia that we all have with Bollywood.
Yeah.
Like we've all grown up on Bollywood films. So you can't touch Shah Rukh Khan really, can you?
Can't
Like,
touch. No,
yeah.
absolutely not.
I'm so glad we have a Shah Rukh Khan fan.
I know.
Okay. More simpler question. Sweet or savoury?
This is really hard.
Oh my God. I thought it was one of the simple questions.
No, it's
No, that's really hard because I have a sweet tooth. So I feel like I have to have something sweet after. I never used to be like this, but I feel like after dinner I have to have something
Yep.
sweet.
I've
Yeah,
always
I've
had
always
to have
been
it.
like that. I have to resist.
the way that I kind of answer this question, because it's the same for me, but I'm like, if I were to go to dinner and I would have to have like a starter, main, or a main dessert, I'd always go for main and dessert.
This is true.
So just think of it
man,
like that.
It is so hard. But then savoury means that if I say sweet, then I'm saying like I don't like main courses, but I do like the main course.
No, I'm just asking
Okay,
you
yeah,
what you
fine,
prefer.
sweet.
There you go.
I'm taking it
It's if
too
you
deep.
if you can live without the sweet, then it's savoury. If you
I
can't,
can't live without the
I
sweet.
wouldn't be
you
able
go.
to choose then if
I-
that was.
yeah.
I can't live without the sweet. I need
Yeah.
it.
Okay, next one. Oh, okay. Gym workout or dance routine?
I think a lot of people will be surprised by me saying this, but actually gym workout.
Okay.
Yeah, I love dancing. I really love dancing. I love Bhangra dancing. I love Bollywood dancing. I really do love it. But I think there is something really. But dance is quite often a communal experience that you're doing as a group, and I think there's something really therapeutic about an individual gym workout
okay.
and time with yourself and just that time to clear your head. And a gym workout is great for that. I think pushing weights is great for that.
Do you not ever just have a dance in your kitchen by yourself?
I've done that. I've done that.
Okay.
Yeah, who hasn't done that?
Exactly. I
Although-
hope everyone does.
Amrita,
It's
have you
great.
ever danced in the kitchen by
Yes,
yourself?
but I'm just laughing at the fact that Shyama asked you this question.
I'm like,
Why not?
because I'm dancing all the time.
exactly.
Good.
Oh.
What are you dancing to?
Anything and everything. Like
Okay.
literally, I'll just put on Spotify and be like, "What have you got for me today?" And sometimes it will be like, okay, we went to see a Burna Boy concert a couple of weeks ago. Oh
cool.
my god, it was so good. I mean, I don't understand what he's saying half the time. So I'm like making up the words, but the music is great. So like anything, it could go from Bollywood to Amy Winehouse to Burna Boy to anything. So
Nice.
whatever I feel like.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, final one. Social media or no social media?
No social media.
Really?
Yeah. Oh man, like if I was not in the job that I'm in, I would not be on social media.
Wow.
I think social media is like it messes with your head. It causes so much stress. Social media. I know people say, "Oh, there's advantages and disadvantages to social media." Apart from people who've made a business and a living out of it, I can't see the advantages of it personally. I think that it's quite a toxic space, and I say that even though I'm very active on social media, but that is because of the nature of my
It's
job.
because of your job.
Yeah.
And I think most people would say who use it actively that it's because of the nature of their job. But I find like even recently, sorry, I know this is supposed to be a rapid fire, and we've gone into
It's
long
okay.
answers, but like even recently, I use TikTok quite a lot now.
Okay.
And I don't know if you guys use TikTok.
Not yet.
Okay, so TikTok is where I find people have the most honest opinions, but it's such a toxic space. Like they really hate
Really?
Rocky Orani Ki Prem Kahani for no reason. It's really annoying me. Like they have absolutely no reason.
Do you know what? It's
and
so
they hate Ranveer Singh and they hate Alia, but I'm like, why? What have these people done?
I
to
saw
you?
some of this, but I didn't see it on TikTok.
Oh
Sorry, on
my
Twitter.
God.
But I'm just like, why are you hating people for no reason? And it's because social media does give everybody a platform to say whatever they like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is great. Like, great, have a platform. But the problem is I don't think people know how to use that freedom responsibly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely true. So I think it's really weird because I wouldn't have been in the media industry if it wasn't for social media. So I've seen obviously the good side of it, but then been conscious of the negative aspects of
And
it.
I've totally used it to my advantage.
Yeah.
So I can't say I needed social media. I still need social media. But
But
I
not
don't
in
like
its
it.
not in its not in its sort of
I think it's got worse over the years.
it has.
Yeah.
But it's that thing of it will always go back to the fact that people think they're behind a screen and no one can see them. So
No, but even like this, the psychological impact of it is like I will ignore someone's WhatsApp because I'm too busy and think I'll reply to them later. But if they've tagged me in an Instagram story, I'll feel
You see-
pressured.
yeah, it's
I feel
true.
pressured to respond or
How
share it.
funny.
Yeah.
They can see when you're online.
yeah.
You know, like, especially
Yeah,
if it's like
no, I've hidden
Instagram or
that.
something.
I've
Oh.
hidden
Oh, okay. See, I don't know how to do any of that. I don't know how to hide my and to be honest, it is actually that. It's like for me, I've realised one thing that I'm trying to do for myself is just put I'm bad at it. I'll always just scroll, but trying to have a conscious effort of practicing. Okay, let me just not do that for like.
And the
maybe-
validation is horrible. Like like you counting likes and looking at
Yeah.
comments and
it doesn't mean anything to a certain extent.
But for some people
it's-
it does.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
some people
okay,
it
so like
does.
for this, for your work and stuff, absolutely. But you know when like someone's trying to just They don't know what but just doing it for the fun of, oh, here's my profile, like me. What are you giving?
No, but I think for them it matters even more. And
Yeah.
actually, I've realised that, you know, because like, for example, I don't take social media very seriously at all, and I don't reply to comments, good or bad, which is bad. I should, because somebody's taken out the time to comment underneath one of my posts. I should take out the time to reply, but because I don't prioritize social media enough, I don't think that my friendship with that person rests on my reply to a public comment. Like, they could message me something privately and I'd have more value for it. But I think it's very kind that they've taken out the time and commented. But I've noticed that other people in conversation, they will say things like, oh, so-and-so didn't even like my picture, so-and-so didn't even comment on my picture, or so-and-so doesn't reply to my stories. And it's made me rethink the way I behave. So now I'm more conscious about trying to be more supportive on social media of people, not who work in the industry, but just generally friends and family, because actually that validation does mean something to people now.
True.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't,
that's
but
what I
it
was
does.
thinking. It definitely shouldn't.
But it does.
It definitely does. That was my final this or that question.
Thank you so much for taking the time out to be with us today, Haroon. Honestly, it's been
wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us, and we might invite him back, actually.
We
because
might.
I'm thinking about, we have a part 2 to do about
we
the media.
absolutely
Was I
do.
good
Oh my
enough?
god,
mean,
there are
come
so
on,
many
you're
things
always
that I'm
good
like,
enough.
oh my god, I want to ask this. Actually, I want to interview both of you for your own media journeys. That would be absolutely
Let's lay that one
fantastic.
to rest. Anyways, thank you so much, Haroon.
Thank you so
It's been
much.
really wonderful.
Where
you.
can people find you?
You can find me on everything at Haroon Rashid.
Excellent. And
Because the Haroon Rashid handle is taken on every social media account. I had to add an I to everything. So literally everywhere it's Haroon Rashid.
He's just copied Rithik.
yeah,
I think I copied Shahrukh because he's I
am
SRK,
Shahrukh,
but
I am
the
SRK.
I
Rithik
came
is
from
I
there.
Rithik.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
There you go. That's
Well,
where
he
it
started
came
off as
from.
that. I don't know.
and I do have to point out, there was one thing you said that really reminded me of something that Shahrukh says in Diz in the Gi, where he's just like, "Oh, why do we have to think we have to take the longer route? You can take the shorter route to life." So that just happened.
Whatever works.
Yeah. Whatever
You
works.
just compared me to Shahrukh Khan. You just made my day.
Excellent. There you go.
I don't know. I have no comment.
That's all right. And
Absolutely
you
no
guys,
comment.
can all find us on all the socials at Voice It Out Podcast.
And I just want to say thanks to DJ Shy Guy who did our
Absolutely.
jingle,
Woohoo.
as always.
As always.
And yeah, we will be back soon.
We'll be back very soon. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.